New day, new learning. Ciao, Mace.
Ciao Enrico.
I have been exploring a new technology as part of my job, and I felt it was something I had to share with you. It's called RxDB, and its goal is to enable real-time collaboration with a very, very low effort. And it brings many, many other benefits together with it. And today, for the first time, I'm going to have a little technical demonstration. We are not going to be doing some coding, but it's just walking through the code together so we can understand what it means implementing RxDB. But why do we want to do this? So what does RxDB solve? You know, when we want to enable real-time collaboration, it's very common that we implement some REST API, CRUD operation, read some data, modify some data, usual stuff. And then we need to implement something like WebSockets, for example, so that we can implement a pub/sub like system to receive updates when something happened somewhere else in the network, right? So you are modifying a task on our to-do list and I receive an update without reloading the page. I mean, nowadays, this is very common, right? That is rocket science. What is a bit painful is that you need to put together different pieces. So if you have your REST API and your WebSocket, you need to decide which strategy to use to update your data. Most likely the REST API remains your, let's say, ground truth. And then the WebSocket, it's going to be bringing only the changes, or it's going to bring the full object. Like there are many different ways that you could structure this, but it brings a layer of complexity. RxDB does this for free, completely. And it's cool because you don't even need the backend if you don't need it. So you can have a front-end first implementation without a backend and have only one database somewhere that is going to take care about persisting your data and make it available to everyone. So I feel this is just mind-blowing, especially for, you know, getting things started, small project. I don't have experience scaling this, and I cannot say if it scales, you know, for big company, but I know that for small project and for getting things started, it is really incredible. And we are going to see some other benefit after this kind of demonstration. So let's look into some code, my friend. Okay. So let's demo first.
Yeah.
You know, we have two browsers, you know, two independent windows, and we have the most simple to-do list that you have seen in your life. Click, add some text, sorry, add some more, delete. And as you see, it's seamlessly working, right? So generally, as we said, you would need probably a combination of REST API and WebSocket to achieve something like this. How do we do it? So let's quickly look at the code. What I really enjoy about RxDB is that it's so straightforward to implement. I mean, their documentation, it's not the very best. So their tutorial, it took me a little bit, you know, to follow the breadcrumbs and solve a little quirks here and there to make sure that I got it correctly. But finally, I got this framework. And this project is also hosted on GitHub, so it's available for everyone. I think it's a perfect project to build on top of and build whatever you need. It's a Vite configured project. It has TypeScript and uses React. So if anyone is using this kind of stack and want to build on top of RxDB, please feel free to use this for any need you have. So here is the thing. You create an Rx database, you give it a name, use the size of storage, and one of the interesting part of RxDB is that it's pretty flexible. So you have different options to choose your storage, and this storage, it's meant the local storage. So whatever it's running on the client side. In this case, we are using Dexy that leverage the indexed DB of your browser. So it's a pretty common technology. There are others that you can pick according to your needs. We have a database, local, and it's ready to use. Second, we define a schema. Again, this is using JSON schema that is pretty much common format today. And what we are doing is basically defining the shape of our data. So it has an ID, a name, and a description. And you say that all these fields are required. This is basically the all that there is to it. Yeah, okay, we have a primary key. It's nothing fancy. It's just to tell RxDB what to use as primary key. Nothing fancy. And we finally create a collection. So this is the way we tell our database that our, let's call it table, it's going to look like this. So we had a collection. And that would be the only thing you need to be doing to get this to work locally. So one very cool aspect about RxDB is that it doesn't forcefully need a persistent layer in a remote location. It can even only work in your local database, so on the client side. So if you have a particular need to create an application that only works on a person machine, and it doesn't need to communicate with the network for any use case, you can achieve that with RxDB. This is already amazing, I think.
But then sorry for interrupting you, but then you will not get any advantage of like sharing the same stuff, right? Between many people. It's only like between you, maybe on many devices, right? But
only on one device, even.
only on one device. Sorry, because
yes,
it's IndexedDB, so it's only for your browser, actually. Even not
absolutely.
Yes,
no. It's a weird use case for sure, but it's an opportunity that RxDBs provide.
Sure.
The cool part comes when you provide replication. So in this case, we have a local instance of CouchDB. Inside the repo, there is a container that you can build to have your own Dockerized instance of CouchDB. And the only thing you need to provide is a URL and then a very secure password with your username. And once you do this, you have this. And this is hosted on CouchDB. So here we should, host maybe a version of CouchDB on AWS or whichever cloud provider that you are using. And then you would have the possibility to have a fully real-time collaborative app working by only writing front-end code. Like, this is just insane. And then just to show you quickly, the interface to work with RxDB is incredibly simple. So we have an insertion, we can modify data, and we can delete data. So this is pretty normal CRUD operation. The only, I would say, notable difference or notable thing we want to talk about is that it uses Mango query. So these are a type of query that works in this way. So you provide, an object that contains a selector and that contains the element that you are going to search for. So in this case, we want to search for a task that have an ID that it's equal to this UUID that we pass. Again, relatively straightforward. The best part of RxDB comes with the observable. So this is everything you need to fetch your data whenever your application starts and to receive updates in real time when something is happening that is not in your machine. And when you start to use this, you can, with a single API, you have the entrance to your data for your application. So if we go into our very, very complicated application, you are going to see that, okay, this is just the connection part, this is still a POC, so we can do things much better. It's just to make sure that we can get something started. But this is basically the core of it. You observe some task, you subscribe, and then whenever you get some changes, you populate your state in React. That's all there is to it. And then you have a real-time collaborative app working with what? Maybe 100 lines of code.
Yeah.
I thought this was impressive. I really enjoyed working with this technology, and it sped up so much the implementation of this simple prototype I had to do for my own organization.
Wow, that was super. I'm still amazed how much stuff we can do these days just on frontend. I mean, using frontend code, it's not just on frontend technically, because we are using some libraries for that, and these libraries are connecting to the database and stuff like this, and using technologies which are not super new, like WebSockets. For example, they are not super new these days, but still the way how we can work with these technologies amazed me every single time. So thank you very much for showing me this. I know RxJS a little. I used this in the past couple of times, but only in my side projects. Of course, I know databases quite good after spending more than 10 years with them. But other than that, this combination is new for me. I think, for me at least, right now, at my head, the main use case is just what you said, some building short prototypes, maybe even for folks who are only familiar with frontend to start getting to know something about backend as well, like databases, like the general structure, or just to make something persistent, because we know that if you are purely front-end guy, it is always hard to prepare this infrastructure, to understand all of these layers in between, and to get something. And sometimes the results you want to achieve are very simple, like this, the final result of your application, which you presented here, is relatively simple. Yeah, store some data, and then you have like task list. But if you want this task list to be available on different devices or for different people, it is not so easy. You need to have some server, and then tools like this are amazing. So thank you very much for showing me this.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm still not sure that I would build an application like, you know, full-fledged application for a company, let's say, that will need to long last. But still, I feel there is a lot of potential here to get things started and have fun playing on things, doing POC. This is great. And something that I also haven't said that I wanted to share with you before closing this chat is that not only RxDB provide what we have seen up till now, so a unified interface to interact with data in real time, but it also provides offline work. So this is something that is a big benefit. You can use RxDB in situation where your users are out of connectivity. And we know that with the mobile world, this is something pretty common. So by implementing RxDB, we get offline work for free. And RxDB takes care about replicating the data whenever you get back a connection. So web worker, you need it? You don't need it anymore. You can use RxDB and it's going to take care about that. And then there is also the replication part. It comes completely for free. This morning we were doing a demo in my own organization, just trying things out. And people were taking different elements that were synced through RxDB and they were moving them around. And RxDB handled the conflict automatically. By default, it uses a strategy that just listens to the last change that was done to a piece of data. So if you do a change and I do it 20 milliseconds later, it's going to listen to mine. It's very naive and easy strategy, but it handled by itself and you don't need to do anything else. So it's great. I think it's very interesting. It is open source. There are some plugins that are paid, and maybe the one thing that I wanted to share that I found a bit annoying, or let's call it annoying, is that RxDB also provide a Node.js implementation for having a backend storage system, an in-memory system that is incredibly fast. So not CouchDB, but an in-memory database on Node.js. But unfortunately, the plugin that they offer is today deprecated, and they don't encourage you to use that. So there is no free plugin for having a Node.js implementation of a persistence layer. There is a paid plugin for that, but it's not my favorite solution, given I was looking for something open source. Still, I think that the price is not crazy. Even if you want to go for the paid plugin, it's really worth. So here there is a repository. I will share the link in our description so that anyone can take it. I will make sure to also put a license so everyone can really feel free to download and extend from this. Awesome. That's RxDB. I hope that you enjoyed.
Awesome. I enjoyed a lot. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Ciao, Maciej.